This is the weekly business news in English on TV3. I am Nugzaru Khaza. Good morning. Disappointingly, this week the Georgian political life abounded with intriguing but unpleasant events. The chain of events unfolded in the following sequence. The prosecutor's office charged several high-rank officials of Defense Ministry with participation in corrupt deals. The investigation accuses them of embezzling 4.5 million lari. Later, investigators brought new charges against 6 persons, medics of Defense Ministry and managers of the Georgian food supply companies. Irakli Alasania, Minister of Defense of Georgia, who was paying official visit to his French colleagues, made his first statement at the airport. He declared that he was ready to cooperate with the investigation and requested to declassify the relevant documents. Alasania characterized actions of the prosecutor's office as politically motivated. Later, he convened a special briefing where he made a tougher statement. The minister said that it sounded as an attack on Georgia's Euro-Atlantic choice.
This is an attack on Georgia's Euro-Atlantic choice. This is an attack on the institution which stands out thanks to its successful reforms and which is distinguished by its unwavering forward movement on the road of achieving Georgia's foreign political goals. I am not afraid either of the prosecutor's office or of certain mud-raking representatives of media. I promise Georgian community to follow our goal to its very end. It's the aim which we set forth after the 2012 elections. We will stand by our word to pursue the ideals that will take our people to the final victory.
While Alasania and his team were holding the briefing, the Prime Minister of Georgia attended the session of political council in the headquarters of the Georgian Dream Coalition, where Irakli Garibashvili described Alasania's statement as irresponsible and officially relieved him of his duties.
In order to avoid politicizing of Georgia's armed forces, and with the aim of providing appropriate conditions for conducting independent investigation, I made a decision to relieve the Minister of Defense of his duties.
In the wake of Premier's decision to dismiss Alasania from his post, members of Alasania's team voiced their decision to resign. Among them were Alexei Petriashvili, Minister of Euro Integration, Maya Panjikidze, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and her 4 deputies. Later, as it turned out, except David Zankaliani, as a result of their consultations with the Premier, other deputies changed their minds and stayed on their posts. At the briefing, which took place in the Foreign Office, Panjikidze and members of her team gave account of their 2-year-long work.
I am proud of the fact that I left my signature on the 1,000 pages of the agreement on association with the European Union. It is not an ordinary signature. My heart is there, and there is my belief that Georgia's Euro-Atlantic course is unshakable. My present choice is in accord with my job and values.
Maya Panjikidze made a statement about leaving of political alliance Georgian Dream.
I am leaving political alliance Georgian Dream. For me, it was a great honor to be at the service of my country during these 2 years. I must say without false modesty that in the period of 2 years, our team did its best at our country's political arena. We firmly defended European and Euro-Atlantic values.
Foreign mass media actively responded to the dismissal of Georgian Minister of Defense. According to the evaluation of international media, ousting of pro-Western minister will trigger crisis in the country. Social network also abounded with the news of the events that were connected with the leader of the Free Democrats Party. American ambassador to Georgia also voiced his diplomatic comment on Alassani's dismissal and charges of the prosecutor's office against the Ministry of Defense.
Obviously, the composition of Georgia's cabinet and government is a matter for Georgians to decide. However, at a time of regional turmoil and domestic economic challenge, what Georgia needs most is stability, unity, demonstrated commitment to due process and rule of law, to work towards these goals and focus on a future for the country that is firmly anchored in Euro-Atlantic institutions. It would not be appropriate for the United States to take a position on specific ongoing investigations, but the number and economic challenge, what Georgia needs most is stability, unity, demonstrated commitment to due process and rule of law, to work towards these goals and focus on a future for the country that is firmly anchored in Euro-Atlantic institutions. It would not be appropriate for the United States to take a position on specific ongoing investigations.
The Georgian politics in general and the cabinet of ministers in particular are in expectation of certain alterations. At this moment, it is uncertain whether these changes will be beneficial or harmful for the country. Currently, general census of population is underway in Georgia. It takes place on a national scale in 73 municipalities. The census will go on for 15 days, and it is scheduled to be over on November the 19th. In September, National Agency of Statistics conducted advanced census in the highlands and hard-to-reach regions of the country. In order to conduct unhindered census, they have trained almost 10,000 interviewers. They are assigned to ascertain the exact number of population and find out their social and economic positions. In every family, process of polling will take 40 to 60 minutes. Thanks to the census, the National Statistics Agency will obtain the newest information on population size, its gender and age structure, employment, education, health, and habitat. The previous census in Georgia was conducted in 2002. Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, met with Jamil Çiçek, chairman of the Grand National Majlis of Turkey. They discussed the issues of intensifying the cooperation between the two countries, energizing of interparliamentary friendship groups, and further development of trade and economic relations. It was pointed out at the meeting that Turkey is Georgia's #1 trade partner. Participants in the meeting stressed the importance of the project of Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway main line, which envisages intensifying of regional cooperation in the fields of transport and trade. In the words of the Premier, Georgia views Turkey as its reliable ally and strategic partner, highly appreciated Turkey's support for Georgia's Euro-Atlantic aspiration. Irakli Garibashvili thanked the chairman of the Turkish parliament for approving the program of teaching the Georgian language at Turkish public and private schools in 2014 and 2015. It was also mentioned during the talks that one of Georgia's top priorities was cooperation with Turkey in the sphere of cultural inheritance. Georgian-Turkish relations could set example for the entire world. They are strategic relations. These links are important for both countries. Jamil Çiçek, chairman of Grand National Assembly, declared after his meeting with the chairman of the Georgian parliament. However, Çiçek did not mention Abkhazia, where lately Turkish businessmen have demonstrated excessive business zeal. They showed interest in setting up of trade facilities and building of waste processing plants. In the occupied Abkhazia, members of de facto government hosted the Turkish businessman.
Before I arrived here, I have been told that it was risky to make investments in Abkhazia and it was impossible to work here. Although, when I arrived in Abkhazia, I became convinced that I was right to ignore the tall tales. It will be our pleasure to implement our business ideas in Abkhazia. Hopefully, all promises that were voiced here will be fulfilled and we will witness implementation of our program. We also hope that we won't turn off this road.
Turkish businessmen took an interest in developing livestock farming and tourism. Long-term venture of restoring of a 12-story building of the Council of Ministers in Sukhumi was among the projects that were discussed during the meeting. The building was burned down during the war. In case the investments are made, Turkish businessmen estimate to get the first profit in 4 years' time.
Within the framework of our 3-day visit in Abkhazia, we had the opportunity of meeting of the Prime Minister and representatives of Trade and Industrial Chamber. It seems that there are several issues which attracted the interest of the Prime Minister. He believes they would be useful for Abkhazia. We will work out several projects and start work on their implementation.
The ruling team of Georgia is informed about the visit of Turkish businessmen in the occupied territory. Members of parliamentary majority say that it is a sensitive issue and the Georgian Ministry of Foreign Affairs should take special measures to that end.
It happens periodically when certain friendship groups of Italy, Germany, or some other country visits the occupied territory or take part in business forums organized by Abkhazians. Of course, it is a sensitive issue. It needs our attention. Special attention should be paid to these matters by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Meanwhile, members of national movement point to the infirmity of current administration and point out the fact that the authorities have forsaken this issue. They emphasize the wrong policy of the ruling team. The nationals declare that at the international level, the Georgian establishment does not protest against the annexation of Abkhazia on the part of Russia and never mention the law on occupation. 5 out of 20 Turkish businessmen who visited Abkhazia are of Abkhazian origin. According to the de facto government of Abkhazia, in the nearest future, more visits of Turkish businessmen in the occupied region are scheduled. Till now, nobody can say what mechanisms the official Tbilisi intends to use to stop the intensified activities of the businessmen from our partner countries on the territories occupied by Russia. Georgian President Georgi Margvelashvili delivered a speech at the second United Nations Conference on Developing Countries which have no access to the sea. He talked about the occupation and annexation of Abkhazia and Crimea. Margvelashvili focused on the importance of Georgia as a transit country. He stressed the Russian occupation that creates dangers to the countries of the Black Sea Basin. The Georgian president highlighted the significance of infrastructural projects that are jointly implemented by Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey. I would like to call on you to join the promotion of peace and stability in the region to which my country also belongs, the president of Georgia said. Within the framework of his visit, the Georgian president attended the reception held in the name of Sebastian Kurz, Minister for Europe, Integration and Foreign Affairs of Austria. In his welcoming speech, Mr. Kurz thanked Georgi Margvelashvili for participation in the United Nations Forum. At the working lunch, the Georgian president met with Lamberto Zanier, Secretary General of OSCE. At the meeting, the parties discussed the issues of political situation and regional security. Compared to 2012, Georgia slipped down by 39 points in the logistics index of the World Bank. At present, it holds the 116th place on the list. In 2010, Georgia was on the 93rd place, and in 2012, it held the 77th place. National Movement Party believes that deterioration of Georgia's rating bespeaks the loss of potential for becoming the transit and regional hub and the decline of its investment attractiveness.
Fall of the rating indicates that the country is losing its transit potential. We highlighted this matter when we pointed out the fact that volume of cargo was decreasing at the railway. Our country is losing its potential of becoming the regional hub. For years, the previous administration has been working to turn Georgia into the regional transit hub. The country's investment attractiveness is declining.
The World Bank published its first logistics index in 2007. They intend to begin rehabilitation of cableways in Chiatura. 4 sections of Chiatura cableways are scheduled to be rehabilitated. Relevant agreement to that end was signed by David Shavaliashvili, Minister of Regional Development and Infrastructure of Georgia, and the Vice President of French company Pomagalski. Ambassador of France also attended the event. Government of France will spend 30 million lari on financing the construction of the new cableways.
Thanks to the financial support of the French government, we will connect downtown Chiatura to 4 outskirts of the town. The cableways, which correspond to modern world standards, will be safe and secure. No less important, an issue is the point that local population will be engaged in the process of cableways construction as well as its operation.
Cableways in Chiatura were built in 1963. After the 1990s, they have not been repaired. As of January the 1st, agricultural farms, slaughterhouses, and milk processing enterprises will be forbidden to function without the introduction of HACCP, the Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Point System. Business operators who produce foodstuffs of animal origin will be obligated to introduce the set system of internal control. At the Association of Farmers, they believe that petty farmers will find it difficult to move to the new standards.
Petty farmers will face difficulties when they try to put this system into practice. The system will induce the farmers to hand the feedstock directly to the processors. It will make their work easier, while they will get the same reimbursement. They may even receive bigger profit. As a result, the market will be sated with tried and true high-quality products.
This system is universal. It implies the feedstock control process, starting from the receipt of raw material till the end of production course. The control will be conducted by the entrepreneur himself. National Foodstuffs Agency will supervise the proper functioning of the system.
The system provides safety of foodstuffs with the least expenditure of financial and human resources. In case the system is implemented properly and dangers are assessed appropriately, we will be able to get significant economic effect.
Introduction of the new system is not mandatory for domestic foodstuff production. Till 2020, the Code of Foodstuff Safety exempts individuals from state control. They will be allowed to sell domestic dairy products as they did till now. However, Some consumers demand to establish the control system over the sphere because they prefer homemade foodstuffs. Expenses connected with the introduction of HACCP system will depend on the kind of individual farming, technological process, and the number of employed staff. European Bank of Reconstruction and Development plans to allocate about $80 million aimed to build Dar el Hesi. Relevant agreement was signed by Zurab Alavidze, director of Dar el Hesi, and Mandita Farshad, head of energy sector of EBRD. They started to construct Dar el Hesi in 2012, and it is scheduled to be finished by December of 2015. Ceremony of signing the agreement was attended by Kachi Kaladze, Minister of Energy of Georgia. The minister pointed out that it was the first instance in Georgia when an international financial organization financed the project directly. In the words of the minister, the said agreement proves the fact that international political process cannot stop the projects that are planned to be implemented in the country. The designed capacity of Dar el Hesi is 108 megawatts. Its annual output will amount to 510 million kilowatt hours, and its estimated investment cost is $124 million. Well, that's all this morning. You are watching the weekly business news in English on Channel 3 of the Georgian television. Thank you very much for being with us. I am Nugzaru Khadze. I will see you again next Saturday morning at exactly 11 a.m. right here on TV3. Until then, have a great week.